Thanks for sticking with us on The Real Story. Joining me now is Professor Osman Kilic from Quinnipiac University. He teaches finance, and we're talking federal finances this morning, in particular, how they could impact you. Thank you so much for being here with me, Professor.
Oh, thank you.
So tell me a little bit, how would you explain the debt ceiling? What actually is it, and why is it such a big deal right now?
Well, it's a simple format. I think is just if you think about from the individual perspective, we have income and expenses. When our expenses are more than our income, we borrow. Think about your credit card limit. So it's the same thing at the federal government. We have been running deficits, and we have to borrow the money to be able to make our expenses, including all those federal employees and the retirees, Social Security checks, then plus all those projects they run it, plus all the debt that we have it, which is $31 trillion, somewhere around that level, making the interest payments as well as the principal. So you have to keep borrowing, but there is a limit that Congress set it up. Every 6 months, sometimes a year or so, that limit is being filled, so they have to go back and then negotiate to be able to increase that limit. That's what's going on right now, and in just the layman terms that you're looking at it. So we don't have enough money, and then we just fill up our credit card debt. Now we need some extension. Just keep calling to the public, negotiate. We need more money.
Right, and we, as you said, it happens before. They've renegotiated the debt ceiling before, and when people wonder how we got here, it's important to realize, the government has almost always spent more money than what it collects in taxes, hence taking on debt to pay our expenses. And just this past week, the government said receipts from April show a steadily decreasing revenue, less and less tax revenue coming in. Now 97% of our national debt stems from choices and spending that happened before the Biden administration, but now it falls into their and Congress's lap to raise the debt ceiling or default. The president's current stance, he did signal an openness to claw back some of the unused COVID-19 relief funds, but he's not okay with cutting from various programs. He's actually started talking about increasing tax revenue from the wealthy. Do you think this could begin to cover it? Do we have an issue with national revenue?
Well, we do have an issue. It's huge. That's why you run trillions of dollars every single year, and as a deficit. So you have to keep borrowing. You don't have a choice. Our GDP is about $26 trillion, or that is 31. It's that number, unless the Congress and then the White House, they sit down and they figure out for a kind of midterm and a long-term projects to be able to fix these issues. Every single year, we're gonna keep getting this issue. We have to keep increasing our national debt, that ceiling. But it's just, like from the politician's perspective, everybody wants something different, but they need to sit down and negotiate, try to figure out what could be done in the short term, which is increasing the current debt ceiling level. And then also in the midterm and the longer term, what could be done to be able to have at least something close to the balanced budget.
Right. And with those negotiations, on the flip side, the Republican-led House has already drafted and proposed several cuts to programs along with these debt ceiling negotiations. And while this would lower spending, which they say makes them feel more comfortable with raising the debt ceiling, others are saying this is just a short-term fix. What's your opinion on that?
Oh, it's a short-term fix, but then they also know that there is no way White House is going to agree with them. And whatever the President Biden is offering, they're not going to agree with them. So, but the idea is here. That's the whole idea. You need to sit down and talk and negotiate, because consequences of not increasing that ceiling is extreme.
And is there a balance that's missing at all between dealing with national revenue and federal spending?
Just it's simple, right? Just when you look at this one, either you have to increase your revenue, which is the taxes, or you need to cut down your spending. That's the bottom line. At this point of time, at this juncture, it's difficult to do both of them at the same time, but that's why you need a longer-term plan to be able to fix this issue.
Right. So some of the proposed cuts from the Republicans include reductions to Medicare and Social Security. When we talk about how this could affect people in an everyday sense, that would be a pretty clear example. So if we do default on the debt ceiling. It could be pretty unprecedented, but many are saying it could still lead to delayed or paused Social Security and Medicare payments anyway. And this comes down to what the Treasury Department does and prioritizes. What authority do they have to do if a default does happen?
God forbid it happens, we are in big trouble. Just simple, understand this one. There is no what if those type of scenarios and so on. It's terrible. Because at that point of time, Treasury Secretary Yellen, she has indicated that, or X date, which is the June 1st, that we will run out of money, Treasury, basically. At that point of time, they have to make a decision unless the Congress and then the White House agrees to increase even in a short term to the debt ceiling till the end of the year, at least from that point perspective. Because at that point of time, if we have the not increasing the debt ceiling, what's going to happen? The government has to decide, how am I going to make my payments to their federal employees? I'm going to make the Social Security payments, which we have somewhere around 55 million retirees. They get the Social Security. Then I'm going to make my payments to my contractor. I'm going to make my payments to the interest and principal payment for my outstanding loan, which is $31 trillion. I mean, all of this thing is just going to be, that's a decision they have to make with no money at all. I mean, they may try some kind of accounting trick, those type of thing, but it's not going to work. The hole is so big. Is just the only solution is negotiating, agreeing, and a short term to increase on the rate. This is not a game, child's game, that you can play with it, because consequences, especially in the financial markets, is going to be huge, because every single debt that we have it, your credit card debt, your auto loans, your mortgages in the global marketplace linked to the U.S. Treasury rates. If U.S. Treasury defaults its obligation, is going to be, all hell is going to be loose.
And what are some of those other consequences or other ways everyday people would feel the impacts if the country does default?
So what happened is here, right away, financial market is going to go down substantially. The banks is going to have problems, and then they are going to cut down from lending businesses. Their credit standard is going to tighten. And some of the companies, if they don't find a solution throughout the summer and then later part of the year, you will see the companies, businesses, revenues, income is coming down. They start laying off the people. It's going to be devastating, and it's going to be so sharp. The summer is going to be very challenging if they do it.
And so,
my bet is on that one. They are very smart people. I don't think they will do it, but there is still a potential. It's just they need to sit down and negotiate and figure out the way to solve this issue in the short term.
Right. And it would definitely make for an unsettled economy, obviously, which we're already sort of dealing with right now. Is there anything people should do to prepare to set themselves up for success in so much uncertainty?
Well, number one issue is here is this, like the federal government, right, is a mess. The finances of the federal government is a mess. So at the individual level, you have to make sure that you have, your balance sheet, in a sense, your income and expenses somehow balance, and you do have some saving. If you don't have a saving, that's a problem, because we usually talk about, because of the uncertainty, increased level of uncertainty, at least 1 year of your expenses has to be covered by your savings. If you don't have that money, please start saving as much as possible instead of spending.
So we've gone over some of the other consequences for people, but just to reiterate, some might be looking at this and saying it's a national issue, it's happening at the federal level, but why should everyday people really be paying attention to this?
I mean, that's what I said. Everything is tied up, that one. We never default our obligations. When it happens, all the market is going to go down, financial markets, economy will be affected, because everything runs on credit. So businesses will struggle. Once the businesses struggle, they are going to start laying off the people. Suddenly, you're not going to have a job. Yep. And so it's just everything is linked to each other, because we do have a capitalist system. Everything run on credit. The bank credits that you're looking at it. You cannot take that trip that you're planning to, for vacation for the summer. Even think about just basic things. You need to worry about the food, bringing the food on your table if it happens. God forbid. I don't expect it's going to happen. That's my default. But in case if for some reason the politician messes up, then we have a problem.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for being here with us, Professor. We really appreciate it.
I thank you.